I received the NBA Jam Arcade1up last night. I put this thing together and I've spent some time playing it. And overall, and I'm just going to spoil my own video, I really like this cabinet. However, it is flawed and there are some criticisms to talk about because at the end of the day, you have to decide what you think of this cabinet. So my goal is to share with you as much info as I can as if you were right there playing the game or looking at the cabinet. Now, I didn't receive my pre-order as early as a lot of folks who've already posted videos. So I'm asking for your help. If you enjoy this video, take a look at the video, but if you enjoy it, please hit like, and if you could, leave me a comment. It makes a huge difference for YouTube's algorithm. It will promote the video. I know I ask that sometimes, but I don't ask on every video. This is one of the ones I'm asking for. I need help getting this thing elevated because unfortunately, Best Buy was like the slowest provider of these cabinets. I don't know why. I kind of figured everyone would go out at the same time, but it is what it is. Also, Retro Ralph did a video showing you that you can connect hardwire Ethernet to this PCB. There's a micro USB port, and actually I plan to do something interesting with that micro USB port myself that I'm going to cover on a later video. But hint, it involves burger time and it involves electronically switching from 4-way to 8-way. I've got everything set up. You guys are going to love that. But for this video, for NBA Jam, it is possible to connect Ethernet to that board. Now, I don't have the adapters needed, so I can't show you how to do it. But again, Ralph has a video. It's super simple. Here's the thing. If you don't have Ethernet jacks in your game room, or you don't have your router nearby, or your house isn't wired for Ethernet, there is a really easy, almost perfect way to get Ethernet throughout your entire house. There's a product called a power line adapter. It runs your internet, hardwire internet, through your power system in your entire house, so every outlet can become an Ethernet connection. If you stay tuned at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually how I have my Games Legends Ultimate connected to the internet, and the products are pretty reasonable. You can buy them on Amazon, the Ethernet power line adapter. I'll put a link below. So stay tuned to the end and I'll school you guys up. All right, I want to go through the cabinet design first because that's, in my opinion, number one with Arcade1up. If the design is screwed up, there's no reason to buy their cab because just play it on a multicade, right? Or just play the ROM. So the cabinet has to come correct. And again, I think with a lot of things with this cabinet, I think mostly the design is really nice and I actually like it a lot, but it isn't perfect. So let's go through everything. For the look and feel of the cabinet, you've seen the cabinet, you know what it looks like, you're seeing it on video now. My criticism here is simply the riser. The fact that the riser replicates the NBA logo, it's centered differently and not aligned with the NBA logo above it. We just didn't need that logo there at all. We already have a giant NBA logo on the side panel. The side panels of the riser should just be a continuation of that basketball print so that it looks more like the original cabinet, which had some space between the NBA logo and the bottom of the cab. They absolutely could have copied this. It would have been a simple design to execute. Of everyone who works at Arcade1up, my biggest beef is with whoever designs these risers, because this person needs to step their game up. And I say that out of love, okay? But you gotta step, if you're watching the video, you gotta step your game up. However, the cabinet does look and feel great. There is one thing I noticed that I really loved. The control panel under the deck protector has a texture to it. So I don't know how they've printed the control panel design, but it's very bright, it's very vibrant, it feels like plastic almost. I mean, it feels secure. This is the one cabinet I would feel okay taking the deck protector off. I'm not going to do that, but it feels just more substantial. So somehow they've constructed this differently and that texture feels really cool. The deck protector itself on my cabinet has the light up component, so we'll come back to that. Now, if you think back to the early Arcade1ups, they did real simple mistakes, like give us ball top controllers when it should be bat top. Here we get the proper bat top, and we get the blue and the red color scheme, just like the original, which is super dope. So they did it correctly, and you'll notice on my cabinet, I actually have the blue and the red reversed. I goofed. Now, what didn't they do? Well, they didn't copy the design of the original cabinet in terms of the side panel shape. I think that's okay here. NBA Jam didn't have an iconic silhouette. It's not a particularly great looking cabinet. So this is one of those cabinets where maintaining the stock Arcade1up deal is okay. Now, do I think as a general rule they should be doing custom side panels for every cabinet? Yeah, I think they should. They obviously can afford to do it if they do it on some cabs, and NBA Jam's going to sell as well as anything. So yeah, I think they probably should, but I'm not going to ding this too much for that. I also liked, and this is a very subtle thing, you can use any of the controls, player 1, 2, 3, or 4, to navigate the system menu, go through dip switch settings, pick which game you want to play. That's really nice. You don't have to stand all the way in the left to pick your game and then reposition to whichever place you want to actually play from. Also, in terms of the game itself, it's emulated by Codemystics, and those guys do pretty good work in my opinion. I think they did great work with the Star Wars Atari cabinet. Codemystics handled that emulation, and Arcade1up brought them in again, and I think that's probably a good choice. So good for everybody involved. Now back to the cabinet design. There is this live button in the center of the cab, and I thought that would connect and disconnect you from the live connection, the online. It really doesn't. What it does is it pulls up that live menu. So it makes sense that it's there. I don't really like that it's an arcade button. I feel like it should have been like a toggle switch or something that somehow looks removed from the actual original game's controls. But that's a pretty minor complaint. Now, if any of you have seen the leaks for potential future Arcade1up cabinets, there was a leaked rare photo of a Street Fighter that would be online gameplay, and it had a massive live logo on the marquee. I'm really glad Arcade1up didn't do that for NBA Jam. This marquee looks like the original, basically, and it looks really good. And as always, they knock it out of the park with their light-up marquees. That part is a really good product. Kick plate's a little lame. I've complained about this before. It is what it is. It's kind of what we're stuck with. I still think just a black background and 3 logos is a cheap design. I think that they ought to integrate it a little better. However, the original NBA Jam just had an all-black front anyway, so we're not missing much in this particular case. So let's talk about the controls. These come with what I'm told are Sanwa clones. They feel fine. They're proper gated for 8-way. But look, I don't care how much you hear that the clones are getting better and they're basically indistinguishable. That's baloney. They are distinguishable. I have real Sanwa controls on 2 of my cabinets. They feel different than these. For $500, I want flippin' name brand controls. For $300 to $400, I can look the other way. For $500, I cannot. I really think that's inexcusable. And I think as consumers, we ought to be demanding that we get the real deal controls. Get out of here with your clone nonsense. I know it costs less. I also don't care. This is a $500 standalone cabinet. Give us the real controls. I just think that should be table stakes at this point. However, the controls aren't bad. They're perfectly fine. They're as good or better as any of the non-Sanwa controls Arcade1up has done to date. So if you're okay with that, you're not going to hate this. It's not a reason not to buy it necessarily. It's just really frustrating. Now, for a 4-player cab, this is my first 4-player cab. For any of you who are new to that form factor, the question is, can you fit 4 people, and is the screen big enough to stand on the far left or the far right? So when I first got the cab together last night, I did have 3 of us playing the cab, and it actually was fine. It was fairly comfortable. With a 4th person, it probably would start to get a little cramped. It wasn't bad. It is workable. And how often are you going to be playing this with a full lineup of 4 people? Probably not all the time. And when you do it, though, it can be done. The 17-inch monitor is, again, it's workable if you're on the far left or far right. It's not ideal. I do think for these larger cabinets, this is where we should be talking about a 19-inch screen or a 20-inch screen. Again, for $500, it's not as frustrating to me as the controls, but we know the cost difference. It's an extra $20 for them to source a 19-inch monitor over a 17-inch monitor. That's the wholesale price difference. This ought to probably be a 19. But it is doable at 17, so I just want you to know that. For games list, so I'm not an expert on NBA Jam. I don't think I'd ever played Hang Time before, but I had played Jam and Tournament Edition, although not on arcade. And I like the games list, and here's why. I said before I like when there's variety in the game types, but I'm starting to change my mind on that. When there's variety, then there's opportunity for the controls not to make sense. With this, the control panel, the controls, and the design of the cabinet, they all make sense for all 3 games. And the games are different, especially Hang Time, so it's not like they're just giving us barely different versions of a game. The difference between NBA Jam and Hang Time is pretty substantial, so that's cool. But let's talk about features. First, the features you're going to get for this cabinet no matter what. Meaning, whether you buy the $400 package or you buy the $500 package, you're getting online play. It probably seems like old news at this point. We've known for a while that this will have free online play, but it's still really exciting. I played one match to completion online. It was a lot of fun. It worked great. I joined a game, I got in, and I played. I think when I joined initially, it was the third quarter, and then went through that game, closed it out, and then played a new one from scratch with the guy. So it was good. Are there things they could do better? Yes. So apparently if you leave the match, you don't register a loss. Pretty bogus. I almost hate saying that because I don't want everyone to know that, but that's what it is right now. That should be fixed. The next thing I'm not sure about, when you join an online match, you could join halfway through. Well, what if you win or lose that? Should that count on your record? I mean, I would argue no. And I don't know if it does count on your record. I haven't checked, but I would argue it shouldn't count because you can't account for those first couple quarters. It should really be, if we're going to take these records seriously, it should just be, did you play the whole game? Did you win or you lose? And if you quit early, then, well, that's a lose. But when it comes to the $500 package, that's really the question here. If you're watching this video, you're probably into the NBA Jam cabinet. So it's a question of, should you get the 400 or the 500? I actually now think the $500 one's kind of worth it. And I hate that I'm saying it's kind of worth it. I'm not telling you it's an obvious win, but it's kind of worth it. The stool it comes with is really nice. It's just like all the other Arcade1up stools, except it isn't adjustable, which makes sense because this cabinet is designed to be played on the riser that it comes with, so why would you ever want to adjust? But the big question to me was the light up deck protector, and it's actually a little nicer than I thought it was going to be. Here's why. It does integrate with the power of the main PCB. So you turn the cabinet on and off and the deck protector comes on. So it feels like an integrated part of the product, which I like. It also diffuses light through the deck a little better in person than shows up in photos or even video. It also has its own very little inobtrusive button on the far right. There's a little round button. If you hit that button, you can customize the color of the lights. If you get to the end of the colors, you can turn it off. So there's an easy way to turn it off and just not use it, or you can customize it, or you can set it. And every time you turn the cabinet on or off, it does remember that setting. So that's pretty legit. They did a good job with it. It could have been better. I still think this needed a heavier duty deck protector that better diffused the light to really be a win and match those marketing images they did. But it doesn't look bad in person. It's not an embarrassment. So it's fine. It's worth 10 or 20 bucks extra. The stool, you either know if you want that or not. I like it. It looks nice. It's well made. For me, do I regret getting the upgraded package? No, I do not. So here's my overall view of this product. If you like NBA Jam even a little bit and you have room and kind of want a 4-player cabinet, and that's a big question because it does take up a lot of space. But if that's true, then yes, I do recommend this cabinet. It's well done. The software on it is really well done. To be honest, it's exciting to me that when you plug it in, you get an update. And some people I know don't like those day one updates, but this is the first Arcade1up product that will get updates, patches, and fixes, potentially more players. I don't want to count on us ever getting more players because that's a big unknown, but it's possible. So as the community has feedback, we're going to wait and see, are these guys responsive to our feedback and do they update? But the fact that they can is amazing. You can connect this with hardwire. The Wi-Fi works great. I had no issues with my Wi-Fi. So thanks so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, again, hit like, leave a subscribe. If you want to support the channel, we do have a Patreon. I'll put a link below. It's patreon.com/unqualifiedcritics. Got a couple extra bucks a month. You want to support the channel, get some exclusive content, recommend you check that out. I'll catch you guys next time. So here's the power adapter that I'm talking about. This is the one I use. Depending on what kind of speeds you're running, you know, you're going to want to pick a model that fits that, but I'll drop a link to this one below, or a similar one if they, I don't know if they still make this. I've had it for a couple years. There's a little Ethernet port. What it's doing is it's running internet through my power line throughout the entire house. And then now any outlet becomes an Ethernet port because all I have to do is plug this into any outlet. So I have one that I plug in by my router, and I plug my router into it, and then I plug one of these anywhere in my house, and I have 4 of them, and then suddenly I have a hardwired connection. I use this for my console, and I use it for my At Games Legends Ultimate, because I don't have my router in this room, and I don't really want to run Ethernet throughout my entire house. If you plan to hardwire your NBA Jam, and you don't have an Ethernet port nearby to pull from, pick one of these up. They're awesome.
Dripping lights paint the skies. because